The audio in the following podcast is an uncut presentation from the president of Good Success, Tom Olson, at the Good Success Mastermind in February of 2018. The Mastermind is made up of elite real estate investors from across the country. To learn more about the Good Success Mastermind and to fill out our application, go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind now. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast and to leave us a nice review.
So when you change what you think, you change what you do. And when you change what you do, you change your results, right? So before I even get into this, how many of you guys have heard the story about David and Goliath? Right? How many of you guys think that Goliath had a big advantage over Dave, right? I mean, he's this big, huge guy, 9 feet tall, strong as an ox. Thinks he's like, he's the man, right? He's like, come out, face me. All the Israelites are all afraid of him. Nobody wants to come out and face him. But you think back in that day, and you think about how the wars were actually fought. And you say to yourself, okay, there was 3 main types of fighters, right? There was the cavalry, there was the big giants that had all the armor, and then there was these slingers, okay? And these slingers were told, or it was told about the slingers, that they could, if they could see it, they could hit it. Like, that's how good they were. So if you think about it, it'd be like a sharpshooter. It'd be like somebody that had a scope with a rifle that could hit somebody 200 yards away. Okay? So we stop and think about that, and we think to ourselves, how many giants do I have in my life? All these giants that I think have this huge advantage over me. They're bigger than me. Okay? They're awesome. They're stronger than me. But David came to that giant and he said, No. You don't have the advantage. Like, he literally thought he had the advantage. Because think about it. If you had a big giant 100 yards away from you and you had a rifle, who really has the advantage? Think about it. So when you change the way you think, you'll change what you do. And when you change, and obviously David changed what he did, and nobody else believed it, but David believed it. You change your results, and we all know what happened at the end there. So I'm not sure what happened to that blank slide there, but it kind of got put in there. So when you change what you think, you change what you do, you change what you believe, you change what you get. I'm in a lot of different groups, and a lot of times they talk about you go to, like, the old way of doing things was you go to school, you get a great education, you make money, you become wealthy, and like you live the American dream, right? And in order to get from here to there, like, that's the pathway to get there. Well, I mean, I believe today's economy is changing, and I believe that what used to be the rule is not necessarily the rule today. I'm not saying that that's not a way to go for some people, because we still need dentists, right? We still need doctors. We still need those people that will do those things for us. So I don't want you to think that I'm against it, but I think that there's a different path. I think most of that's crap. I think, so think about Max used to be a school teacher. He was probably told, go to school, get an education, become wealthy, make more money. And a lot of times we think if you make more money, that's going to make you financially free, right? Well, how many football players and basketball players, like, have you found, and rock stars, all these other people have made all the money in the world, and you find out like 2 or 3 years later they're completely bankrupt and they have no money at all, right? So to me, it's like, it's not about how much money you make. We actually were going to play cash flow this week. I think we cut that out because of time. But cash flow really teaches you don't want to be the doctor. You don't want to have that huge amount of active income that has to be sucked away every single week because of your expenses. You don't want to start with all this debt. You don't necessarily want to be the bottom guy either. But you want to be somewhere in the middle where you can actually make things happen. And a lot of times we just think the grass is greener on the other side. And just like Max kind of said yesterday, it's not always greener on the other side. Like, Max is in a terribly hot market. He just needs to work deeper, and he needs to just go deep for those deals, and they're still there. So there's many times that we have these roadblocks and these things in our heads that we just got to get the head trash out. Oh, that's a great slide. It didn't really come on here. What it's really all about is what you focus on expand. So that's why goal setting is so important, because when you actually set that goal ahead, and I need to get these houses at this price, that's everything else like kind of goes away. And that's why it's people think it's just all frou-frou and it's just all whatever, but it's not. Like it's so true, because your brain is wired in such a way that everything that you do now focuses on that. So that's why it's very important to keep daily goals in front of you. Oh, look, it worked that time. All right. Oh, we did that yesterday. So what really matters in life? So this is where the interactive part comes in, and this is where I need you guys to have your pen and paper ready. So, but what's really important in life? Is it really important that we make a bunch of money? Probably not, right? What's really important in your life is two things. And the very first thing is, what are your values? In my opinion, like I told you guys what my top 4 values were yesterday. And I did this list, and it doesn't have to be on this list, but what I want you guys to do right now is write down your top 10 values. What are the top 10 things that you think are the most important to you? So everybody take about 2 minutes and write down the top 10 things that you guys think are the most important values to you. Is it love? Is it integrity? Is it stewardship? Is giving important to you? Is loyalty important to you? Financial freedom, freedom of time, family time. So what is the most important values to you? So I want you guys to do your top 10, and we're not going to share these. So these are personal to you. These are 100% personal to you. But what I'd like you guys to do is, throughout the week and next week and so on and so forth, I want you guys to think about, then rank those in order. And that's going to be a hard thing. This is going to be hard work. What's more important? Is it more important to love my neighbor as myself, or is it more important that I have integrity? Because there's a difference there. Is it more important to have fun, or is it more important that I'm a giver? And I promise you, it's going to be hard, but you need to do it. You need to make your top 10 most important values. So now, what are your top 10 roles? And I hope this isn't going to step on Max's breakout this afternoon. He's told me, and I'm like, I think this might work really well together. Me and him didn't plan this, but I think it might work really well together with what he's got, because I think he's going to be doing similar to this as well. So, but what are your roles? So a lot of these are God-given. A lot of these are just like you have kids. You can't. Nobody else can be the father or mother to that kid. So some of these roles are roles that you are the only person that can fill that role. And some of these roles are roles that maybe you are that person, but maybe you shouldn't be that person. And I'll tell you what, like, this is a huge eye-opener for me. This is something I learned in the last quarter. When me personally, I looked at my values, and then I looked at my roles, and then I looked at how much time I'm spending in those two areas and how my values and my roles match up. To me, it was like, I need to make some changes. My wife said the same thing. My wife literally, she stopped working in the office because she knew that her role as a mother in this time of her life was more important than being in the office. And I'll tell you, for me, this was a huge thing. I'm not going to take credit for this. This is all in the book, What Matters Most. But this has been around for a long time. This isn't something brand new. But basically what he says is, when your values and your roles and your beliefs don't match up, like we have angst inside of our hearts, and we know we're not doing the right thing, and we have a feeling of not being fulfilled. We have a feeling of not living life to our purpose. And a lot of these purposes are given to us by the roles that we have. Okay. Anybody need more time with their roles? I think you guys got the roles a little quicker than your values. So the next thing I would do as well over the next week or so is rank your values, and then also rank your roles, top to bottom. You know, for me, for me, I rank Christian above all the other roles. And then I probably rank my spouse and my wife next. And when I looked at my own time and I thought to myself, how am I spending my time like Max has done, I need to make sure that certain things are a priority. And a lot of times it's just about blocking out the time and making sure that that's what happens. Okay, so thinking is the hardest thing there is, which is why like so few people really do it, right? So thinking is the hardest work that you'll do. And I love to see Max. When I first met Max was just like all about go, get. But you can tell that Max has really grown a lot because he's been doing a lot of this. He's been doing a lot of, the last 3 times I've heard him speak, he's like, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And it's hard. It is hard work. I mean, it really is sometimes to really stop and think. Henry Ford said this. Again, like just so you guys know, this whole morning I'm going to kind of go all over the place. I'm going to do like this whole thing is a shotgun. Like there's all these different things that I've thought about over the years that I think is just life-changing. And so money is really only a small part of the economy, right? Think about Henry Ford. What did he do? Changed the way transportation forever. So money is only a small piece of our economy. What matters in business? So I talked about what matters in life, and I started with life because I think life is more important than business. But what matters in business today? I think number one is knowledge. I've heard from the Wins over here, and like they're really, really interested in learning. And they're like, I just want to learn. I want to know what I want to do. So I think knowledge is very important. So that's why I don't want to discount school, because in order to do certain professions, you have to have a certain knowledge and a certain skill set. So we all have to learn something somewhere. We all have to have skills, but it doesn't just stop there, right? Connections. We all talk about connections. Your network is your net worth. The people that you meet, the books that you read will change the way you believe, but it'll also give you an advantage to be able to leverage those relationships in a good way to help both the people that you're serving and the people that you're serving on both sides. So the people that you're getting from and the people that you're giving to. Is anyone paying you for access? Think about it. Think about it. If not, why? Your network is more than your net worth. Like I said, it's your survival plan. Time. How much of your own time do you feel like you own? Or how much of your own time is somebody else's time that you always have to give to somebody else? Time is a very precious resource. What are you doing to save yourself time? And really, what are you doing to save other people's time? Right? Trust. What are you doing to make sure that you do the right thing every time? You know, like I said yesterday, you have to be the change that you want to see. If you want people to trust you, you have to make sure that you're first trustworthy. It starts with it. What are you doing to make sure that others feel like you can be trusted? As a turnkey operator, like you are not selling. You might think you're selling a turnkey house, but you are not selling a turnkey house. And then the next step after that is thinking, I'm selling money. I mean, I actually heard somebody say that. I'm selling money. But then you take that a little farther, and I start thinking to myself, okay, I'm selling cash flow. That's great. But I'm really not even selling that. I'm selling a feeling that I can be trusted to take care of that for that other person. I'm selling the feeling that they can trust me, that I'm trustworthy with their asset. That's where, at the end of the day, people will stick with you forever and ever and ever if they believe that they trust you. And anybody who's been in business for Walter can attest to that. Walter talks all the time about people who just send him money without even like the paperwork. Why? Because there's a trust there. And things change when trust happens. The speed of business is so much faster. That's why Walter is so against working with the banks, really, because there's this complete lack of trust. I mean, it's been completely separated, and now it's like you have to have, we talked about it last night at dinner, you have to have like a person checking the fact that the person checked, that the person checked, that the person checked in order to make a deal happen anymore now, right? Why? Because nobody trusts anybody anymore. And it's what's really amazing is you go to other countries and it's not like that. It's like as soon as you come on U.S. soil, there's this huge fear factor that comes for some reason on the U.S. soil. So in order to be that person that's trusted is like way more valuable than anything else that you can give to people. So are you doing things to make sure that you're worthy of trust? And also I'll say, are you transparent about what you're doing? The more transparent that we can be as business owners, the more we can show people this is our system, this is all the work that we have to go through in order to make sure that you have your proper property. Even when you're selling retail, I think this is important. Show them this is what we had to go through, this is all the stuff that we've done. The more transparent that you can be, the more trustworthy you'll be. So knowledge and skills, your network, your time, trust, these are much more higher priced commodities today than money. So have you thought about what you do with your knowledge? Your knowledge should have an occupation, right? If we all know something, we ought to be able to use our knowledge as an occupation. What do you do with your connections? In my opinion, your network ought to have an occupation. Your time ought to have an occupation, right? We all work. We all do something with our time. I think that our knowledge ought to have an occupation. I believe that our network ought to have an occupation. And, well, I talked about time. Your money should also have an occupation, right? So if you have money, why would you want your money just sitting in a bank account? Like, I don't get it. And to me, it goes back to what I talked about yesterday. I don't want to be the bucket. I want to be the conduit. And I always, if you guys haven't read The Richest Man in Babylon, it's a great book of a foundation. I have my 11-year-old Lily is reading this book right now. And I think that you talk about kids wanting to teach your kids, that's a great book to give your kids. Like high school age, it's very appropriate for high school age kids. But it basically talks about like having money, not to just get this pile of gold, but having this money so that way you can go and invest it into other different worlds and other different businesses. And you want your money to go out like little soldiers, and then you want them to come back with more soldiers, right? So your money ought to have an occupation. So all these have different pros and cons. What are they? So different ways to make money in life is you have employees, right? We all have employees, right? How many of you guys have employees? 1, 2. You don't have any employees, Mike. We all have employees, right? Pros and cons, consistent paycheck, right? That what most of your employees want, consistent paycheck. They want security. They want a consistent work schedule. They want structured environment. They want recognition. They want to be part of a team. They want to be paid. They want paid time off, right? Everybody always thinks that they want to do nothing and get paid, right? I don't know. Things are provided for you and training is all provided. Those are the pros. Like you think about it, like that is, like you as a business owner are offering a lot of things for them in order to get employees. However, the cons are your time is really owned by your employer. You're trading your time for money. Your schedule's not as flexible. There's a ceiling on really what you can do and what you can earn. You're always being told what to do, and really it's long-term sacrifice in my opinion. So a subcontractor, you get into this next where you think you're a small business owner, and I started off when I was 19 years old as a painter, and I'm like, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to do all this. It was great. It was awesome. Until I kind of really put these things together. I said, I get to create my own schedule, kind of, because you still got somebody telling you what to do, right? You still have to get a job done. You make more than an employee. You have a little bit more freedom, sometimes less freedom. Cons, sometimes some people are still telling you what to do. And in order to be good, you have to really work a lot. You know, we hear about this a lot when we talk to the dentists and the different masterminds that we're in and the business owners where they feel like they're tied to a job. And really like a lot of businesses a lot of small business operates that way. Like they're just there and they have to. The dentist itself, like they make the most money when their hands are in somebody else's mouth. Think about it. They don't really, most don't have a business. Even accountant, me and Josh have talked about this. Like, Josh has to work, like, day in and day night and night. So, in order to be good, you have to work a lot. An entrepreneur, again, and we all know the benefits of this, you know, so I'm not going to get into this too much because I think everybody in here is a little bit of an entrepreneur. But self-accomplished, highest pay eventually. You have to be willing to go first but eat last. Able to help employees, which for me is a big thing for me. Like I thrive on like seeing how I can help my employees and help them grow. Making a difference, you have more opportunity, and you get to build and create, which is something else that I really like. And talking to like Max, you can tell like Max just loves it when his creative juices are flowing and he's ready to go. Cons though, it takes the most time. It takes the most time to get to where you want to get to. It's a little higher stress sometimes. You have people relying on you. Sometimes their employees don't realize this. Like the risk that you've taken in order to make sure that they have a job. It's a lot of the time it's relying on you, and it can be lonely, right? I think that we all should be working towards entrepreneurship. It's higher risk, but higher reward. So time for a test. You guys ready? Extra credit. No. To me, like somebody showed me this about 5 years ago, and I've put this in this presentation for a while. But what do you do with your time? I promise you, in your job, in your business, you entrepreneurs that are making $3, $4, $5, $6, $800,000 a year are doing $10 an hour tasks. I promise you, Mo Matthews. I saw you putting out that bandit sign, Mo Matthews. So we did this in our business, and we actually did this as a group effort in our business. This is for our business, so this is just an example of our business. And we thought to ourselves, $10 an hour jobs are putting out signs, marketing sheets, taking pictures, posting online, driving. Gosh, like just think of how much work you could do if you didn't have to drive. And it's funny because like in the olden days, you think about all these guys that had limo drivers and you're like, oh, that's a waste. But think about how much time you waste driving every single day. And if you think your time is worth $200, $300 an hour, is it worth paying somebody $50 an hour to drive you around? Like you just lost 3 or 4 hours out of your day. Like for me personally, like I don't change my oil. Anybody change their own oil here? I hope not. Okay, good. Okay, like I know guys that still change their own oil, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's going to take you at least an hour and a half, and you only save maybe $10 because you have to still buy the oil. I don't understand. Are you calling to find prices, following dummy systems, cleaning, cutting grass? Now again, like what I don't want to discount is if you really enjoy something and you get fulfillment out of cutting your own grass. Like I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying. Like, because there are some guys I know they have like 2 acres and like every Saturday I go out and it's kind of like my time. I get to ride on my mower and I get it. Trust me. I'm not saying you shouldn't do these things for different reasons, but if it's just for money, like seriously, there are $25 an hour tasks in our business, right? For us, this was taking phone calls, arranging closings, working with city regulations, creating contracts, following up with buyers, inspecting properties, pre-looking at houses. So it's a little bit higher of a paid type of. You have to have a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more skill. You have to know a little bit more. But in every one of your businesses, there's these $25 an hour tasks, and most people in this room would say that they're what they feel like they're worth on an hourly. Just to do it simple, just look at your end of the year, and if you make $200,000, you're just do it in half. You make your time is at least worth $100 an hour. So anything that you're doing that you believe you could hire somebody else to do cheaper. In my opinion, you're wasting your time if you're looking at it from the difference in time versus money. And I'll tell you what, most of your billionaires in the world think like that. They think, I'm not here to necessarily just serve myself. I am here, all my employees, I'm here to serve. Like everybody that works for you, like you're giving them an opportunity to be able to provide for their family. So I appreciate that. $25 an hour tasks, guys, like, we all do $100 an hour tasks. So I think weekly sales meetings, like I think for us, a weekly sales meeting we felt like was a $100 an hour task. Compiling buyers lists, like people that are going to buy from you over and over again. Like these are higher dollar an hour tasks. People could buy from you over and over and over again. Managing a team, solving problems. Managing your buyers' relations. This was for us, and everybody's business is going to be a little bit differently. $1,000 an hour jobs, though. If you think about it, like training somebody or creating a program like Max has been doing that can like train the next 10 employees that come in this one position, these are much higher tasks. Thinking big. Lending. I mean, if you guys haven't ever seen that, like you could make, every time I do a loan, I mean, Glenn, how much money per hour do you think you make lending? A couple $1,000s an hour at least, minimum? I mean, $2,000 or $3,000. I think lending, I love lending. Like, trust me, it's one of the things that I do love lending because I think it's dollar per hour. I think it's almost unbeatable. Hiring and firing. You know, firing can be worth probably $50,000 an hour, right? Sometimes if they're the wrong people. Leadership, planning, hosting guests, managing leaders. For us, that's what was big for us. And then also $10,000 an hour events. So, or $10,000 an hour jobs. I think this is an old presentation. Sorry about that. So masterminds, my opinion, you come to a mastermind, like I've never left a mastermind and not had $1 million idea, never. Training others, hiring coaches, hiring leaders. The higher you go in your leadership teams and the higher skill level and the higher quality of person that you're hiring, those are worth way more. Creating big relationships, brainstorming. But I bet you guys could all probably even think about even $100,000 an hour tasks, things that like change your direction in life, make a huge difference. So I just wanted to kind of open that up to you guys and talk about that a little bit today. You guys all know this, right? So if I were to give you a penny that doubles every day for 30 days versus $1 million today, which one would you take, right? Come on, you guys are all smart. I know you guys are smart. What would you guys pick? The $1 million or the penny that doubles every day for 30 days? Penny, yes, okay, yes, you take a penny. That's awesome, right? It's so cool. So this is like the power of compound interest. And compound interest can work for you, and it can also work against you with debt. And I'm going to tell you, like right now, the United States is in trouble, and it's because of debt. It's because the United States has debt. It's because we have personal debt. We have credit card debt. Car loan debt has been in the trillions of dollars now. Student loan debt could hit $10 trillion in the next 10 years if it keeps escalating and the cost of college education keeps rising at the rate it's rising at. But also, let's think about taxes though. So if you were to be taxed 30% on that penny every time going up versus the $1 million, now which one would you choose? Most people would have to think about, after seeing this, they'd be like, oh, I still think it'd be a good deal. I mean, the penny, it's only 30%. If you think about it at the end, 30% of 5 million, it would still be a lot higher than the 1 million, right? This is what happens. You end up with $48,000 after 30 days. If you get taxed 30% every time that penny doubles. Taxation is one of the biggest wealth killers we have in life. And I promise you Walter's going to mention this. I bet you he will. If he doesn't, then I might have to make him. And Josh Belk, the accountant in the room, will probably also testify to this. Taxes can be a huge killer. So this is just something that you guys need to change the way you think a little bit. This is what happens with the penny. But with taxation, it's a killer. So look at the fastest growing companies in the world. Something is happening, right? They all have three things in common. They're all sales and marketing driven. They do not trade time for dollars, and they use their knowledge and connections. And they have a trusted system that people are willing to trust in order to do. You think about Uber. Like there's an extra trust. Why do we use Uber instead of the taxi driver when the taxi driver is probably cheaper most of the time? I don't know why. For some reason, we trust Uber. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Like I've seen it both ways. I've seen it both ways. But when I was in California, the Uber driver was a lot more than, it was like $50 for the Uber driver or versus like $25 for the taxi driver. But
30 seconds and charge you.
Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, you know what you're saying though? Exactly what you're saying is exactly what that's saying. Yeah. You don't trust them. So Uber is very transparent. This is how much it's going to cost you. They're very transparent about it. Where the taxi, you're kind of like, I don't really know what you're going to get. They have also realized that a little of a lot is a lot more than a lot of a little. So you might be able to be that big, and get all the money like a solopreneur does, but they've realized that if they can get, like Netflix, if they can get $7 from you every single month from how many customers, and Amazon just hit like something like 1 billion customers, something crazy number. What is it? 80 million or billion? 80 billion customers that are paying for Amazon Prime. I mean, just... It's amazing, but they've learned that just a little bit every single month makes a huge difference. So again, the economy is completely changing, and I think we also need to make sure that we change with it at some point. How do these companies do this? They rely on others to do their work. Okay, they rely on other people to do their work. They also create contacts and relationships, and then they simply sell access to it. Okay? Uber doesn't own any cars. Airbnb doesn't own any. Airbnb is a large, you guys understand how many people stay at Airbnb nightly in the world. It's staggering compared to any hotel chain that you can ever even imagine. I mean, the numbers are like not even in comparison anymore. I mean, they've passed them so fast. They do this by selling access. It helps people save time by allowing them to have access to the connections that they've already built. How do these companies create this? With their knowledge. They had to have the knowledge and know how to do it first. They have to have connections. And the premise that they're saving people time. Like Uber, like you just get out of the plane, oh, there's my Uber driver. I mean, it's awesome. You don't have to call somebody, and the feeling that they're in good hands and they're in a safe environment. So selling time and trust is way more valuable than selling time for dollars. So I saw that about 4 or 5 years ago, and I put that in this presentation that I've done at different events and different things over the years. And I just to me, I'm like, why in the world? How many of you guys have ever been on mission trips? We had a guy here yesterday who was on a mission trip. Who was that? And you said, the statement you made was, I think that person that had nothing, like, meant more to me, and she taught me way more than I helped them. Why in the world is it that people that don't have anything are way more generous than the people like us? Like, seriously, like, we are freaking spoiled brats. But I think we all have to ask ourselves the question. Again, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. We all have to ask ourselves the question. Why are the people that have nothing more generous than me? If you think about the story of the woman with the 2 mites, God said she gave all. Again, like, everybody has to make their own decisions for their, and again, like, I agree with you. Like, for me, I try to live in a way where this is what I'm going to spend every year, and everything over that, I try to split it almost 50-50, half to giving away and half to what you're talking about. Because you want to be able to leave a legacy. You want to be able to make sure that whatever you've built on the earth does move on and goes on and gives a good to the next generation. But we also have to understand we're all good stewards. And everything that we've been given isn't ours to begin with. And when we start changing the way we think about that, we realize really that you make a living by what you get, but you really create a life by what you give. And it's about what you scatter, not what you gather. So that's what I've got this morning. Awesome. Thank you, guys.